and
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking AP Calculus, and I started just like I found like my baseball season started, so I found like I was more
Mm.
productive when studying and stuff, like just getting outside more and
Yeah.
just like just reviewing like past units and stuff. That kind of helped me.
Thank you, Natalie. So now
Yeah.
we're just going to cover some test tips, test strategies, helpful for those who haven't taken your APs, but also like if you're going to take any tests in the future, it might be helpful too. So we're going to start with the week of the test on how you prepare. First, checking your knowledge. So taking a practice test, most of you probably already know that and already did. So do a practice test a few days before your exam or a final practice test to check your progress. And taking practice tests can help you check your mastery of the content and identify any areas you still need to study. Your teacher should have provided many practice tests already. I know I heard that it was like Serena who was taking a lot of multiple choice questions, but your teacher should have provided practice tests or past free response questions can be found on the College Board website. Treat the practice tests like the real thing, time yourself, and rely only on your knowledge instead of looking at notes. And just try to do your best. After you grade your practice test, spend extra time with the material you struggled with. So whether you got that wrong or if you looked at the explanation and then weren't sure why, just go into that content area and study more. So that goes on to my next point of identifying problem areas to target your final review. Identify the questions you were struggling with and why you missed them specifically. So there are usually three main big reasons of why you missed the question. And I wrote them here. So there is careless errors. So maybe like you read the question wrong. There is content gaps. So this is what we were talking about, how maybe it's like some type of topic or area that you're unfamiliar with or need more review in, or just question comprehension. So you know the answer, you know the question, but you just misread it or something. So that might also fall into, like careless error. But like Natalie was saying, sometimes it's not sufficient to just read the explanation. So after you get a question wrong, something I like to do is just look at the answer, the correct answer choice, and then just try to reason to yourself, see if you can figure out why, or explain to yourself why the correct answer is correct instead of just reading the explanation. Because a lot of times it can be hindsight bias. So where you read the explanation and then you're like, oh yeah, I got that, like I know how to do that and I can get it right the next time. But just actually, like actively learning and actively reviewing the material to make sure you actually know it instead of just looking at the answer. And then the last one is asking someone to quiz you over the material. So sometimes it's helpful to have someone check your understanding of the content, give someone else your review sheet, your flashcards, or even your review book to like a friend or family member, and have them randomly like ask you questions about the material and just see if you can just explain to them or just answer any questions that they ask. And if you get any answer wrong, such as like flashcards, if you're tested on flashcards, write down that question, write down the topic, and then so you can go back to the material and review it again before the test. Okay, so now is the day of the test. First is just reviewing the key concepts if you feel that's necessary. I personally like to do a quick brief overview of the main concepts, so I'm prepared for the test the next day. And then, so just use the night before for the test for simple revision, such as just looking over the big topics or your study guide if you see if there's anything you want to add. You shouldn't be tackling like new material before your test and just be reviewing and studying the old material that you already created over the past few days. Don't study too late. Late night cram sessions aren't a very effective way to study. It may seem like you're making the most of your time by studying the last minute, but by not giving your brain a chance to rest, you'll have like a harder time remembering the information you need. So just try to like balance it out and then create a schedule, which is what we did the first session. So just you have a good plan leading up to the few days of the test to prepare and just have that mindset. So you don't have to like cram the last minute. Um, Eating a good meal, giving your mind the brain power it needs is important. That means eating like a healthy, well-balanced meal the night before and while you're doing like the final revision of your material. And then prepare for the morning. So this goes for people who have their test in person, I guess, but also even if you have your test at home, it's important to gather all your materials you'll need. And this will also lessen the stress of, like hurrying and gathering material the day of and right before the test. So make sure
Especially,
yeah.
sorry, for the digital exam, one of the pieces that I'm sure you've already heard about, but the technology, right? You want to make sure that you have downloaded the test taking app, that everything you need is, whether it's registering or signing up, making sure that everything is checked off at minimum the day before, if not 1 to 3 days before. I think that's important to remember, because there's nothing that'll throw you off base more than starting off flustered because the technology failed you when you didn't have everything set up. So remember that. That's great. When it comes to the free response or the document-based questions and essays, there's a planning period. Oftentimes that you may have, especially for like the English type essay questions that you have. So you want to use that time intentionally. Oftentimes that may mean actually taking notes or actually actually kind of connecting or highlighting different portions, actively engaging with the material on the questions themselves. So you're trying to draw connections with the different aspects of the question that you want to answer. Part of time management, though, is also what you do beforehand, and having some materials that are going to make it easier for you to remember things is going to be really helpful in the moment. So what does that mean? Having go-to materials include writing open book essays or free response answers. Or even if you don't have the time to do that because your exam is on Monday or Wednesday, for example, you may want to just write the outline at a minimum of what you would actually write.